All right, guys. It's me, Nicole, again, and I'm joined with
Maytay. What's up, y'all?
And we're back at it. So today's topic, I think we're gonna hit on Brittana and family dynamics in canon and in fan fiction. And before we do that, I feel like we're just gonna cover some like current event topics. If you don't want to hear it, that's totally fine. Everybody needs a break, so you can just skip ahead. But we're just going to hit on some quick topics here. For instance, Maytay, I want to say a week ago, you attended a protest.
Honestly, I was like really surprised at the turnout for the town that I'm in. Please don't stop me, but I'm from Hamilton, New Jersey, and it's borderline Trenton, but in Hamilton, it's mostly white people. I didn't really expect too many people to show up. I expected a lot of people that I went to high school to show up. I was hoping at least, but it was a pretty good turnout. They say it was maybe 300 people that showed up, and it was peaceful. And they had some special speakers in the beginning. Somebody came out from Chicago that was raised in Trenton, New Jersey, and did a beautiful poem. It was really, really beautiful. And then we marched up 33, which we call white people town, where like all the plazas are. It's like, and where the community college is at that I attended. Yeah, it's all in that area. We marched at. The cops closed the streets for us, and it was pretty peaceful. Hot as hell too, I will add that.
Ooh.
But it was worth it. It was well worth it. And I was kind of disappointed not to see some of the people that I went to high school with, because my high school was very diverse. There's three high schools in this township, and the one I went to is a little bit more diverse than the other two. It is what it is. I get it. Sometimes you gotta work or whatever, but. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was beautiful, and hopefully there's another one. And if there's another one in Trenton, I might go.
I'm glad it was like nice and peaceful, and there was no agitators there.
One part that really, really stuck out through the whole protest, we had a moment of silence after we marched. Mm-hmm. We went back to the place where we met up. We had a moment of silence, and they asked us to bow our heads or kneel for 8 minutes and 43 seconds. When you think of 8 minutes and 43 seconds, you're like, that's long, but it's not that long, right? But when you're in that moment of silence, you realize how long it really was that man couldn't breathe. Mm-hmm. And how he lost his life in those 8 minutes. And it really hit you. I remember when the 8 minutes was over, one of the girls that had organized it, she just started crying, bawling. I tell you, she was like, because she was a nurse, she went to school to be a nurse. She's a nurse now. She's like, as a nurse, I don't understand how anybody could take a life just that easy. Yeah. And yeah, it was definitely an emotional moment. Hopefully some change comes out of this. I don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like the racists are coming out full force more now than ever. Yeah. So it's I don't know. Everything looks really up in the air. You just never know. Never know.
I was listening to a podcast today at work. It was Peppermint. If you don't know, Peppermint is a drag performer and a trans woman, and she was on a podcast and she was talking about everything that's going on right now. And she said that something about this time feels like we can't go back to before. Like we've seen so many like stories about black men losing their lives over nothing just because these entitled cops are just throwing their power around. And we've seen that before, and we as a country, as a world, really didn't do anything. We were outraged for a week, maybe two, and then we took our eyes off of the issue. But there's something about this time where it's like, I don't think the world is ever going to be the same. And I'm not even just saying that because of COVID. I'm saying that because this feels like bigger than a movement. I don't even know what is bigger than a movement, but it feels like, I don't know. This is in the history books.
We're tired, man. We're tired.
That's the thing. It's like me and you. It's like, yeah, we're brown and we do deal with discrimination and stereotypes, but we're privileged and we're tired, and so I can't even imagine how exhausted like black men and women and children must be. And since I mentioned peppermint, I just, like in the previous episode, we said we stand behind the Black Lives Matter movement, and that's also true for black trans lives. Like, if you look at the statistics, black trans women are one of the most, targeted people. I don't even mean to say, like, this is just some recent occurrence. It's like, this has been going on for what feels like forever. I just wanted to make that clear. And I just wanted to, say that.
It is also Pride Month.
Yes.
So, shout out to my LGBTQ family out there, especially on Discord. I see y'all. Mm-hmm. And yeah, happy Pride Month. We wish we could live it up if the pandemic wasn't going on, but y'all know it's Pride Month for y'all basically every day. So we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. You guys are loved for real. From me, from Nicole, we support y'all 100%, 110%. And if y'all ever need anybody, not just the Discord family, but anybody that's listening, you guys can hit us up, and we're there for you. You have comfort in us. And we support y'all.
Yeah. Before we hit record, I mentioned to Mayte I was having a little bit of a breakdown. I feel like these are unprecedented times, and people are just really in their feelings, and it's totally understandable. And if you need to reach out, absolutely reach out to any of us. Or if you're looking for like a group of people to just like connect with, I would suggest the Discord, like Mayte said. But, like, it's a great place if you want to talk about Brittana, and I've said this before, but it's like, we're also connecting in other ways. It's like, what'd you have for lunch? Or, hey guys, I had a bad day at work. It's a really amazing place where you can just sort of be yourself and share and help others.
Yeah, there are some dope people in there. I don't really have, like, a lot of internet friends because I'm, like, trust issues, Uh-huh. Those group of people right there. Really dope, for real. That's coming from my fields, and I know some of y'all gonna make fun of me for it. Virtual hugs to them, because for real, you could really talk to them about anything, and they're there.
And also, it's like, it's a fun place too. There's like a voice chat, and people have been sharing their screen, and they've been rewatching Glee, and they've also been watching the Step Up series for Naya. A lot of crazy stuff is going on in the Discord. It's a fun place. It's a really accessible place. It's like, you don't have to like be friends with anybody who's there. You just hop into a conversation and it gets going. It's so...
Oh yeah. Go with the flow.
Yeah. And a week or so ago, I'm afraid I started it, but I posted the link to the Glee porno, and it became a thing, and a bunch of us were watching it in the Discord, sorta, and, yeah.
It started a riot, for real.
It was a time. So, if you're looking for friendship and community, hit up the Brittana Discord.
If you're thirsty as hell.
Oh my god. Oh my god. At a certain point in the night, there's one of the rooms is called the Glist, and it's like 18 plus. So, but things get...
It's literally like, in 50 Shades of Grey, how he has his own little room. That's what that is.
It gets wild.
Nasty.
I don't think I am.
Dude, you leaked the porno. What do you mean?
Okay, that's true.
Also, before Nicole shared the link on there, like maybe a couple months back, she's like, have you ever seen the Glee porno to me? And sent the link to me, and she's like, you should watch it. You know how much of bad influence she is.
Well, not because I think it's good. First of all, the Glee porno is really bad. But it's
terrible.
It's almost hilarious. So, it gets wild up in the Brittana Discord. I keep joking that it's like, Glee After Dark, that's like its own porno in itself.
Literally. It needs a theme music.
Gleeks After Dark. It's just the saxophone playing in the background.
Yes. I went back to work, so I've been falling asleep pretty early these last couple of days. Was it Monday, maybe? I think, where you guys were sharing of like a bunch of Santana and Brittany and Naya had their gifts and pictures. Was that one day?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I want to say the last several days, that's what it's been.
Man, they've been wilding out. I forgot to mute my thing while I went to sleep. And my phone just and I peeked in there and I was like, what are they doing? It's some entertaining shit. Y'all need to get on it.
So, our topic today is Brittana and Family. Hopefully this is going to be an entertaining one. I just want to give you a heads up that I think next time we do a recording, we're going to tackle what I'm pretty sure everybody wants us to tackle, which is Brittana and sex. And I did ask for some suggestions in the Discord about what people wanted us to talk about in relation to Brittana's sex life. And I got some really good suggestions. So if you have a suggestion or a question in terms of Brittana's sex life that you want us to cover, hit one of us up in our DMs, either on Tumblr or Instagram. But today, it's going to be a little more wholesome, because we're going to be talking about family.
What's so wholesome about family, though?
Me and you, we talked about this. It's like, we come from Mexican families, and woo!
Well, first of all,
okay,
what is Santana like? Have we ever narrowed down what her nationality is? Like, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, What is she? Because the show never really said, but unless the only time I ever referred them to Mexican is when she's like my Mexican third eye.
When she's in her grandmother's kitchen, in the background, can't you see like the Puerto Rican flag on the fridge?
Is it?
That's what I read somewhere. I've never actually paid attention to that background scene. So I'm not really sure, but like headcanon wise, I tend to think of her as Mexican American. I don't know. I just sort of like, I relate to her myself. So I see that. And I guess I want her to be that.
I could say that she's Mexican or Puerto Rican. Or mixed. She could be half and half. I think she could probably be both. I say that only because different cultures, their families are very different. If we're gonna talk about her family, I would like to know. Yeah. Where's her family from?
That's sort of unfortunate that we never got a straightforward answer from the show.
So I guess we can go off of what the show gave us and what fanfics authors write.
I don't know, maybe you feel differently. I feel like the majority of fanfic makes her Mexican American.
There's a couple that I've read that she's Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
They stick with those two. They tend to stick with those two.
So what do you think about
Maribel,
who was played by Gloria Estefan, who is amazing and an icon?
I like her. I like how they wrote her in the show, and I love how people write her. How some people write her in fics. Very understanding mother, supportive. Which is weird because in the Latin culture, in the Hispanic culture, you don't really see that. Maybe the new generation does. Yeah. Because when they find out that their kid is gay, they're just not like, we're not gonna, you're not that.
So that was really refreshing. Burt Hummel and Maribel Lopez, great parents. They're probably the best Glee parents. So I love Maribel, and I love her in fanfic because she's usually portrayed in much the same way as awesome and supporting and loving. But occasionally, like in fanfic, we've covered this before, the writer will give Santana a mother that isn't Maribel, and she'll just be like neglectful, abusive, or homophobic.
And really religious.
Like right now, somebody on the Discord got me reading this fanfic called Take Me Anywhere. It's like basically a season 4 AU where it's Brittana and Finchel take on New York together. I would never think I would want to read that, but it is actually really, really good. And I'm not a fan of Finchel, but in that fic, they're more compelling. And when they fight, it's like more mature. They come to a common ground. And I'm like, in that fic, I'm also like weirdly rooting for Finn Santana friendship. So, but anyways, in that fic, Santana has a mother who is not accepting of her relationship with Brittany. And it's hard to read.
That stuff tugs at my heart, for real.
It's like she's my baby, and I anybody who hurts her feelings, ugh.
I always think of, like, if I ever become a mother in the future, I could never do that. It puts me in that perspective. Some things make me be like, I could never do that to my child. Like, why would you? That shit happens in real life, so.
Like, I don't want kids, but if I ever had any, I couldn't imagine, like, wanting them out of my life over just who they are.
For you, your niece, you're very close to your niece and your nephew. Mm-hmm. I have a niece. I have a bunch of cousins that are younger. I would never, if they came to me with that information and they decided to come out to me, I would never be like, ugh, no, you can't do that. You can't be that. I don't have the heart. That's who they love. That's who they choose to be with, and that's that. You cannot change them, nothing. You just have to accept it, and you love them, and you support them, and that's it. I can never be like, no, you're not allowed to talk to me ever again. No, I don't even want to see the sight of you. Like, there's some nasty things that people say to their children, and it's like, why?
If my niece or nephew told me, like, hey, I'm gay, or I'm bi, or trans, or anything,
right,
I would just be like, okay, that's who you are, and I accept that, and that's just a part of you now. And
yeah,
what do you want for dinner?
So, and then just like imagine that's only on like a fictional character that we love.
Yeah,
Can you imagine it's like a real life person in your life that's going through that? I can't.
Santana's father. Now, we don't really know the story. We don't know if he's in the picture. We don't know if I guess he is accepting, because she said that she told her parents and they were cool with it. And so, like, in a lot of fics, we see Santana's father as a cold, consumed with his work, whatever that may be. I mean, that's one way to take it. However, I've only incorporated him into maybe one or two fics, but the way I see him is, you've seen Jane the Virgin, correct?
The first episode, maybe.
I've seen the first season or so of Jane the Virgin. It turns out that her father is like this telenovela superstar, Lothario, and he's sort of like, he's an actor, and he's sort of all about his looks and really ridiculously over the top, a little bit conceited, but he has a really great heart. I don't know the actor's name or the character name off the top of my head because it's been so long, but that is who I really see as Santana's father. Like, that brand of ridiculous.
I wish I knew who you were talking about. To me, I feel like Santana doesn't even have a dad. I feel like Maribel's a single mother. That's how the show kind of like depicted it. Like,
but
did we ever have another mention of her father? He wasn't even at the wedding.
In the final episode of season 3, when Maribel gives Santana the money, doesn't Santana like almost reject the money and say, "Why don't you and Dad go on vacation?"
Oh,
doesn't she say something like that? I feel like she does.
She does. You're right.
I don't know. I like to believe that Santana has an amazing dad, and he is just like her, dark and dashing and super handsome, but also freaking ridiculous and over the top. Threatens to go Lima Heights on his coworker when his coworker parks in his personalized parking space. Giving Santana a dad and having them interact and having him be ridiculous like her, I believe that would have been comedy gold. And why didn't the show give us that?
Oh, you know how Bert went up and defended Kurt at the school and stuff? I would have loved to see Santana's dad stand up to Sue and be like, why the hell did you do this and let somebody expose my daughter? Oh, I would have loved it. We always saw Kurt's dad, and I love Bert, I really do, but it's like, it was like Bert was the only parent in the whole Glee universe.
I like Bert too, but like, I wanted to see other parents too, and I'm not even just talking about Brittana. Like, I wanted to see Tina's parents. I wanted to see Mercedes' parents.
Well, we saw Mike Chang's parents, that's the only thing we got.
They weren't really characters, like, in themselves, like the way Bert is. They were just sort of trotted out for an episode or two.
Also, Quinn's dad, Quinn's mom, we saw her for like, 2 episodes maybe? 3?
Yeah.
I wanted to slap her.
Who else?
Slap some nonsense into her.
we did see Artie's mom for one episode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, side note, and this is getting into the behind the scenes stuff, but everybody knows all this Lea Michele stuff is going down. Leah's getting canceled. Anyways, so Artie's mom is played by Katie Sagal, who is an American TV icon from the 80s and 90s.
Did she say something?
No. But
I thought you said she was about to say something.
But Katie Sagal was also on a show called Sons of Anarchy, which I'm also a super fan of. And in the final season, had an episode that like Lea Michele guest starred in, and Katie Sagal and Lea Michele shared several scenes together. Katie hasn't said anything, but oh man, I'm wondering, does she have any Lea stories? Because I would love to hear them.
Since she's a well-known actress and, like you say, is a TV icon, I don't think Lea has the balls to try to even do anything on that set. If she's working with her, she would definitely get blackballed for real. If she's not blackballed now, she wasn't going to try to do it back then.
Let's just do a whole little okay, we're gonna pause this discussion on Family, and we're gonna discuss this Lea thing.
We should have done this at the start, honestly, but
whatever.
There's so much Lea development that happens literally minute by minute that it's
Okay, so this Lea thing, it's been a week and there's still things coming out.
Dude, it feels like longer than a week, too. When we did the last episode, because it literally came out the next day when we had recorded that episode.
No. It came out that night.
That night, yeah, you're right.
We recorded, and then 2 or 3 hours later.
So, the update from the last time that we recorded, many accusations have come out. Do you remember off the top of your head?
Oh my god, there's too many. There is too many. Okay.
For the Glee fandom, Heather came out with her statement.
Oh yeah.
She basically said Lea was terrible to work with.
Have you seen that, there's a post going around, I think it was on, Twitter, where somebody was like, wow, Heather really said, yeah, she's a bitch. Yeah, she's a cunt. Yeah, she's a horrible, despicable human being. But is she a racist? I don't know.
Oh my god, Heather kills me. I can't.
That isn't what Heather said, but somebody was just saying, if you read into Heather's statement, it's sort of read like that.
Well, that's what came to my mind when I read her statement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what she wrote. She posted, "Let me be very clear. Hate is a disease in America that we are trying to cure. So I would never wish for hate to be spread to anyone else. With that being said, was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. Should in big words. And yet, it's also on us because we allowed it to go on for so long without speaking out. Without speaking out is something else we're learning along with the rest of society. But at the current moment, it's implied that she is racist, and although I cannot comment on her beliefs, I think we're assuming, and you know what happens when we all assume, ...
I've said this in the previous little episode we did, that is a person can commit a racist act without they themselves being racist. I don't really know if Lea is a racist, but the whole shit in a girl's wig thing, that threat, that itself is a racist remark because, black women are sort of known to wear hair. And so that's the way I took it. And me and you actually had a little conversation in the Discord, and I feel like I have changed my mind because in the beginning I was like, does Lea have some disorder? Because I'm like, it's so wild. There's regular, young actress diva behavior, but Lea feels like some other kind of thing. And you tell me what you said.
I said that, nah, she ain't got no mental illness. She's just one of those actresses that has a big ego for no freaking reason. She has a big old head, and she swears that her role in Glee was actually bigger than what it is. It did not skyrocket her to she wanna be Barbara Streisand level for real.
Uh-huh.
And she's not that, and I think she thinks she's that, but she's not. And so she feels like she could talk to anybody that's not in her level any way that she wants, if it comes off racist, if it comes off disrespectful, if it comes off any way, she's meaning that shit because she thinks that she can talk to you like that. We're basically the little people for her, and she's God. That's what she thinks.
It took me a few days, and I kept thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? That's probably true, because like she probably treated the background actors and the supporting actors like this. But, you know, when it came to Gwyneth Paltrow or Ryan Murphy, any of those big name guest stars, if she has the ability to turn it on and off, that means it's not a behavioral issue. That means it's not a mental health kind of issue. If you could turn it on and off, if you can control yourself while you're acting around Gwyneth Paltrow, but you turn around and you're like a total shit to, I don't know, somebody who's working catering, then yeah, you're just trash.
There's people with mental illness that are like never rude to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They have their own issues within themselves, and they're trying to figure it out themselves. But you don't see them being nasty to other people. Mm-hmm. There's just some people that are terrible people. Straightforward, no mental illness or anything.
Trash.
It's like when you're Hillary. I don't know if you've seen that video, the woman that got slapped by the Mexican girl.
Yeah.
And her husband tried to say it was mental illness. I'm like, hell to the no. I got a lot of friends that got mental illness issues, and they are not telling me to go back to Mexico. There's just terrible people out there in the world, and I think Leah is just one of them.
To quote the icon that is Jasmine Masters, just as I thought, trash.
You know that little clip of, I want to say it's the American Horror Story premiere. Leah was on it. I don't know what actress passed by her, but she wanted to say hi, and like that actress just completely ignored her.
I want to say Jessica Lange, and
she's a big actress, right?
She's legit.
Well, there's your proof right there. Love it. Love to see it. I saw this one video of this girl that was, I swear she was like my twin with my feelings. She said something about Lea Michele never sat right with me. And she started going on a rant of how Lea Michele is trash, and like she was pulling up all the receipts that are coming out. And I was like, yes, girl. I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt the same way.
Was this on YouTube? Was her name Kenya? Oh, I saw that video. Didn't she say it was the ancestors talking?
Yes, it was the ancestors that told me something wasn't right with her. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, she was so good. I love that video.
She was me. I was her. We were right here with it.
I don't know.
Leah's just problematic, y'all, and I don't feel sorry for her. I hope, just like Amber said, I hope she has a healthy pregnancy. I hope she can find it within herself to fix her issues, whatever her issue is with people. I hope she can figure it out and know that a simple apology is not going to cut it. She needs to change her actions, and that's what it is.
If this were like normal times, I think she would do, you know, when there's like a celebrity scandal, there's like almost this apology tour they go on. Mm-hmm. And it's like, let me sit down with Diane Sawyer and tell my side of the story and make myself a victim and like do my please forgive me for this horrible mistake I made. And they just go around and do a whole bunch of interviews. And I think if this was normal times, we'd probably get one of those. I don't know if we're going to get one of those. I don't know what the hell Leah's going to do to like salvage any kind of career or her image, or I don't know. Is it too far gone?
And who knows if her career is over out there? Like, nobody's gonna want to work with her now because it's out in the open. Who was it that said it? A contestant on The Voice or American Idol that said that everybody in the industry knows how Lea Michele is, but continue to work with her. But now that it's like out and known, like really, really known,
poison.
Will she? Yeah. Will this affect her career now? I think so.
I just want to know, like, I don't see Darren Criss coming to, like, her defense. I don't hear Ryan Murphy coming to her defense. All these people who she claims to be her great friends. I'm like, where's that friendship now? Because if you made a mistake and people were attacking you, I would be like, you know what? Maybe she did make a mistake, but I care about her and I think she can still grow and do all this and da 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 da. I would make some kind of statement that acknowledges a friend's mistake, but also says something substantial about them.
I don't think they want any parts, man.
Darren, Chris, and Leah Michelle's friendship has always been a part of the business. It's like
publicity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Delia Street. Does anybody remember when Leah, Darren, and Cord tried to push that friendship on us, and none of us bought it?
When Nicole told me about that, I didn't even know that was a thing, or that she tried to make it a thing. That just sounds ridiculous.
And that's the thing, they gave themselves that name. In season 5, during that time in the fandom, people were just like, this is sad. You're just sad.
You can't give yourself a name. It doesn't work that way.
I just want to know what Darren Criss and Ryan Murphy have to say, since they're such great friends of hers.
I also want to know what Becca has to say, because aren't they, like, really good friends, too?
Y'all are gonna hear some real shit now.
Say it! Yes!
Okay.
I love when Nicole gets really, really, really real.
This is just my opinion. Becca's podcast is trash.
Louder!
Becca's podcast is basically a bunch of white women talking about how hard it is to be white women in Hollywood. The amount of vocal fry is ridiculous. I listened to the episode, I think Naya did an episode and Heather did an episode, I believe. I listened to both of those and it was so annoying because they kept talking over each other.
That was the most frustrating episode to listen to.
I couldn't go back to it because I didn't feel there was anything substantial there. It just felt like a bunch of hollow conversations. And then I also I was like, am I just being a bitch? I went and I read a bunch of stuff about the podcast and I found some interesting info about how, they had listeners that were people of color who tried to, bring this up on the, official Facebook fan page of theirs. How about having guests of color on there? Or how about tackling this subject from a person of color's perspective? The hosts themselves would always pretty much block them or mute them or whatever you do on Facebook and dismiss them and shut that down because they considered any amount of critique negativity and they didn't want to hear that.
Yikes.
After, I want to say about the same time Leah got canceled, Becca and her podcast team, they put up a post on Instagram about how we have failed because we haven't included people of color in our conversations and we as white women are privileged and we need to do better. And I'm yeah, that's great. Where was that 4 years ago when people were trying to tell you on your Facebook page?
You gotta admit though, it was a better apology than Leah's.
That is true. That is true.
And also if they did have a person of color on their podcast and they cut her off every freaking chance they did. So I'm talking about Naya.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say from what I remember from Heather's episode, Heather did shut him up at one point because she was talking about a serious subject. Remember, I think she was talking about how she was in a depression in season 3, 4, and she was high all the time or something like that. That was on the Lady Gang podcast, right? Or was that something else?
I think it was a different podcast that Heather was a guest on, and she did mention that she was high for a lot of season 3.
Dang, Lady Gang, I tried to save y'all. It didn't work.
It didn't. It didn't.
Damn.
I believe it was a guy who did this acting improv class, and Heather was a guest, and he interviewed her in front of his students. And she talked about her process, as a dancer, and she did talk about her struggles and anxiety during season 3 and I believe season 4.
Yeah.
But anybody correct me if I'm wrong. If that conversation did take place on the Lady Gang, then I stand corrected. But I believe it was a different podcast.
I think it was a different podcast now that I'm remembering. Sorry, Lady Gang. Do better. Maybe I could defend you. Oh man, I just be talking shit. Sorry, guys.
All right. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap up that little segment right there and head on back to our family.
Dude, I don't even know where that went.
I don't either. But you know what? This is just, we're doing this for fun. Who cares if it's a mess?
Y'all still listening, so I guess we're okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to y'all if you're still listening right now.
So we covered Santana's mom and dad. I think we should cover her grandmother, because I have a lot of feelings about her grandmother, Alma. Why don't you start us off? What do you feel about Alma in canon? And then what do you feel about her, how she's now sort of portrayed in fan fiction?
She's a bitch. Not a big fan of her. Wasn't a big fan of her even after the wedding. I don't know. Me and Nicole have, we're very similar in our family things, so grandmas are a touchy subject for us. Mm-hmm. So when we see, and I don't want to just speak for Nicole, but for myself, I also kind of see my grandma in Alma. Mm-hmm. She's a hateful person, and I've seen fic writers write Alma as a great grandmother, a good grandmother. They don't always use Alma. They always give her a different name. Mm-hmm. So I guess I could kind of separate it a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The names are a big thing for me. I kind of like separate the two.
Yeah, me too.
It's like a whole completely different mother to me. So when they write Alma as Alma, I could do without the grandma. She was not right for how she treated Santana. And I get Santana's feeling in trying to gain her grandmother's love back. Relatable for sure. She's my baby, and I feel her on that, for real. Mm-hmm. I don't like Alma. She's a bitch. Like, how about you?
I don't know. I think the storyline, like, itself was powerful, and I mean, obviously I would have liked it to unfold differently because I want only good things for Santana. I can almost understand the value of that, of showing it that way that they did, because that is a reality for some people. They do lose members of their family when they come out. Mm-hmm. When she came back in season 6, and the show went through the motions of trying to redeem her and sort of portray Alma as more accepting. I don't know. I guess maybe they wanted to do that so Santana could get some closure there, and they wanted to give her something happy there, but it felt a little too easy and a little too convenient to me. Like you said, I see a lot of my own grandmother in Alma. I can't even describe it, you guys. Like, in the voice, in the mannerisms, I just see so much, and it's really painful because it makes me think of my own grandmother, and my own grandmother was like a hateful person. I feel like the show wanted us to forgive Alma for her behavior, and I can't do that. I couldn't do that because I know the pain of like being treated like trash by your own grandmother. And so like when I read a fic and it's like post season 6 and the writer is like using this reformed Alma who is now like suddenly the best grandma in the world, and she's sharing scenes with Brittany and Santana, and she's super loving. I can't read it because it's just, I never bought her coming back to them in the show in season 6. I never bought her. Her love to me seemed very conditional.
There's one line that she says at the wedding. I still don't think it's right for two women to be together. But what did she say after that?
But family is family, and I want to be here. Something like that.
It is some bullshit, basically.
Yes.
Because the minute my grandma would tell me, I still don't think it's right, it's basically like you telling me you still are not accepting me. That's how I feel about that. So that was bullshit. Just because we're family, you're just gonna accept it? Nah, you have to accept me. My partner. Like, come on.
Her quote unquote apology, it felt very half-assed.
Yes.
And I think the writers wanted to show that maybe there was still some growing she needed to do, which I get that, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I get that a person that doesn't, it's very old fashioned, and is trying to understand, they're slowly gonna build up to it.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get it. I guess maybe it's us, we're just expecting it to be like.
Yeah. That's a process. And if Glee was a better show, maybe I would be like down to watch that process take place. But because it was so rushed, I felt like this was a process and you're just tossing it together, and I don't buy it.
You know what would have been nice? You know how they played the whole thing that Sue went to go do some reverse psychology on her?
Yeah.
It would have been nice if we saw a scene where she let Sue in and they actually talked about it, you know?
At the end of the day, because I see so much of my own grandmother in Alma, like, it's colored for me. It's very, like, it colors that whole storyline, and I'm not a fan of Alma. Even in fanfic, even when she's reformed and suddenly nice, I can't take it just because I guess I carry my own pain into that. And
I feel that. We see a lot of Santana and her family in R. And when I say R, I mean me and Nicole's family.
Yeah.
That's why we feel the way we feel. Would love to hear what y'all think about it.
But when somebody, like, writes a fic and, like, Alma is, like, a main player in it, and, like, I'm not gonna harsh on it, and I'm not gonna say, well, your interpretation is wrong because this and this and that. It's like, if that's what you want to write, great. I myself, my heart, I can't take those fanfics, though.
I'll read them, but, like, I'll always feel, like, I don't know if you ever make facial expressions when you're reading a fic. But, like, if, like, there's a certain part, I'll be like, ugh. Like, I'll be making a face, like I'm watching a movie or something. I'm usually making a face at Alma.
A stank face. Okay, so I guess we're gonna move on to Brittany's parents, which, do you have a lot to say about Brittany's parents? I feel like we did cover this a little bit before in a previous episode.
Yeah. I don't know. Canon Brittany parents and fic Brittany parents are very different.
You know what's weird is, like, even after season 6, when we actually saw Brittany's parents, like, the fics that came after that, we hardly ever see Pierce as her father in fanfic. Do you think that's because it makes people uncomfortable?
I think so. I think people think it's a joke, like a bad joke. Glee got it wrong, so we're not gonna do it like that.
Yeah.
And granted, Glee does a lot of different things wrong, and fanfic writers always correct it, but this one feels a little different.
You know what I would have loved to have seen after the show ended is a fanfic where it's, like, maybe a holiday. You have, like, maybe it's, like, Christmas in Lima, and you have the Pierce family and the Lopez family under one roof for, like, dinner. Imagine the hijinks between the two sets of parents.
Yo, the way Santana's mom would probably get annoyed at Brittany's mom would be epic.
That is mostly what I want to see. I want to see Santana's mom and Brittany's mom, like,
keep the battle going, because we saw a snippet of it during the wedding.
I want to see their dynamic. I feel like that has the possibility to be comedy gold.
I feel like somebody wrote that. I feel like I already read a fic like that, but I just can't remember who. If there's ever a Brittana spinoff, they need to bring all of them back.
It would be so good. We're never gonna get it, though. Anyway, so I feel like we did cover a lot of Brittany's parents and how we see them in fanon and in canon in a previous episode, so we don't really want to rehash that. I'm gonna move on to the final little segment, and that's Brittana themselves as parents. Who do you think is the strict parent? Who do you think is, like, the fun one? It could go either way.
I always said that Santana would be the strict parent and Brittany would be the fun one.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes I feel like Santana would be so ridiculous that she would be ridiculous with her kids. Mm-hmm. And Brittany would be the strict parent. Like, giving them, like, that, really? You're doing that type thing? Look.
In my eyes, I think Santana just wants to pamper and give Brittany everything in the world, so she never has to worry about anything. And I feel like she would be the same way with her kids. It's like, you want that $300 freaking, I don't know, necklace? Okay.
She really would. She really would.
She would.
But also, I feel like there's a line. Like, don't push me, child. You little human. You little mini Santana. Don't push my limit. Because I will punish your ass.
Little baby Snicks would get in trouble.
Oh, my Lord.
Especially
but then Brittany would be like, this is all your fault. That's what you wanted.
When they're an actual baby, I absolutely believe, like, Santana would spend loads of money on this baby's wardrobe.
You know how ridiculous we are with our dogs, and I don't want to compare a baby, like a human baby, to a dog.
Yes.
But I feel like that's what Santana would be like.
Oh my god, yeah.
No joke.
And Brittany
matching everything.
And Brittany is like, you can just get the infant shoes at Target. You don't really need to get them baby Yeezys.
That's definitely Santana and Brittany for sure, as parents.
Yeah, I see Brittany as the strict one, the more organized one who just is like on top of everything, whereas I feel like Santana she's not a pushover, but she definitely loves pampering her kids and spoiling them, and like, tell you what, I'll let you stay out a couple hours past your curfew, just don't tell your mom. Like that.
I agree 100%. I would love to see that. And a Brittana spinoff, them as parents, come on.
Again, the possibility for comedy is just so obvious.
For real. I'm telling you, you and a bunch of other fic writers need to get together and just write a script on your own and go pitch it. And buy the rights to Brittana.
It would just take like tens of millions of dollars because, Brittana are, they're proper. It's like Glee is a Disney property. So they're like Disney characters, technically speaking. They're owned by Disney.
All the potential, and all that money is Disney got, and they don't want to invest a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to see that because I feel like, I don't know, Kurt and Blaine, they don't have an interesting dynamic. Whereas I feel like Brittana, they have very distinct personalities. And when you have two distinct personalities, like watching that dynamic, watching them bounce off of each other, at least in fanfic, I'm gonna go one further, at least in my fanfic, I make it compelling and I make it hilarious. And,
True.
And I see it really clearly, like, it can be done. A Brittana spinoff as 30-somethings with little kids and maybe a tween in there. I don't know.
We're never gonna have our dreams come true.
Sometimes I wonder what it's like to like be a fan of another show that has its shit together, like both like on screen and behind the scenes. But Glee is the most cursed show I've ever watched. Entirely. It's like so much has happened behind the scenes and so much junk has gone on. There's never, I don't know if we're going to get a reboot or a spinoff or revival, whatever you want to call it.
I do know this. We're going to have a true Hollywood story about Glee.
I'd be okay with that. I want that Glee tell-all book. I mean, Naya gave us a taste.
We need a part 2.
Yeah.
She has to give us a part 2 now.
Still,
I know she has more Leah stories. She has to have more Leah stories.
Dude, they all have Leah stories. Like, I mean, Diana has to have the best.
One that's stay silent.
She has to have the best, worst Leah stories.
I'm convinced they were together. Nobody could tell me different.
I don't even know.
And they broke up. Diana broke up with her ass.
No, I don't know. No. Because I think Diana is a cool, good human being. I can't imagine her being with Leah like that.
Well, maybe Diana thought that Leah was a cool human being, and then she broke up with her ass because she realized she wasn't a cool human being.
I don't know, because these stories about Leah, like, they date back from when she was, like, 12.
Maybe Diana only knew the Leah that was... What season did they do the tour?
Didn't they do it after season 1 and after season 2? I can't remember.
But that's when they were, like, really close, weren't they? Like, there was, like, mad pictures of them together on stage and everything.
Yeah.
Holding hands and shit.
But, I mean, why is it that the female cast members of Glee, there's just, like, if you ask the fans, it's like, yeah, all of them were, like, gay for each other. What is up with that?
Well, I mean, if I was on tour with Diana and Naya every day, all day, sign me up for that relationship. Oh, man. I really lost my thought. I don't even know what I was going to say before that. I don't know what this episode was, but...
Yeah, we're just sort of getting back into the flow of things. We said at the start of this, like, Mayte has just sort of gone back to work, so she's just sort of, like, getting back into her schedule again, so these might be more rare, but I don't know. As long as we're bored, we're going to be doing them, so.
Guys, please wear your masks. I say this because I saw the chart yesterday of the whole United States. Jersey was once a really red state, meaning we were had mad cases. We are now in the green, and Nicole, she's in Texas, is back in red. And they started opening up things way before we did. We just started opening things up literally Monday. Monday's also when I went back to work. But we still have strict rules and wearing masks. Yeah. Wherever you are, whatever state you're in, what other country you're in, because I know other countries are getting hit also. Stay safe, be smart, wear a mask, please.
And you're not just wearing your mask for you, you're wearing your mask for your neighbor and for the person who's bagging your groceries, and they matter. Don't be a Karen. Everybody is a human being. I don't know. I know my anxiety goes nuts when I'm around people who aren't wearing masks and they're not socially distancing from themselves.
We're still in a pandemic, y'all. Just because places are quote unquote going back to normal does not mean we're not still in risk. COVID is very real. There's people. I recently had a family member that is in a coma right now because of the COVID. So that's that. And y'all can't tell me it's not real. It's fucking real. So be smart, please. And if you're going to protest which I might add that the news are not covering that much anymore, there's still protests going on. Also, be safe. Wear your mask. I know it's really hard to stay social distancing at a protest. Don't be in all people's faces, you know?
Well, this was a mess of an episode, but like I said, we're sort of just getting back into the flow of doing this. Excuse all the randomness. And again, if you want in on the Discord, you can find a link on Tumblr, and come talk to us, because we're bored. And
go read Nicole's fics.
Alright, so be safe out there, and come holler at us.
Alright, y'all. Peace.